This system right here is why some B2B companies never worry about where their next customer is coming from, and why others are stuck refreshing their inbox hoping for inbound leads. Because when outreach is built properly, it's not just a growth channel, it becomes a predictable customer acquisition engine. But here's the problem. Most people don't fail at cold outreach because it's dead. They fail because they massively underestimate how much effort it takes in 2026. And today I'm going to walk you through the entire multi-channel outreach system that we use to generate customers on demand. And there's one part of this system that almost everyone skips, which is exactly why they never get results. So let's start with something very important. Cold outreach, which is email, LinkedIn, and calls, it's all been around forever. And every year people say the same thing on LinkedIn. They say cold email is dead. They say LinkedIn is saturated. They say outbound doesn't work anymore. Yet somehow the same companies keep booking meetings, the same businesses keep closing deals, and the same people keep scaling using outreach. Why? It's because outreach doesn't stop working. Bad outreach stopped working. In fact, for B2B companies specifically, outreach is still one of the best ways to get customers, and that is because of the following reasons. So one, you're targeting decision makers directly. Two, you're not waiting for algorithms on certain platforms to bless you. Third, you're not dependent on ads getting more expensive, supply and demand mechanics if you're running, say, paid ads on Meta. And four, you control volume, targeting, and timing. If you know how to use cold email and LinkedIn correctly, you'll never really wait for business because you're actively creating it. But here's where it gets interesting. Most outreach fails for one simple reason. People build ad hoc, low effort systems and expect enterprise level results. They use only one follow-up email. They have no multi-channel touch points. They don't prioritize speed to lead. Sometimes they respond to leads after 24 hours. There are no systems and processes in place when it comes to following up correctly. And then after doing these things, people will say that cold outreach doesn't work. In fact, you just tried sending emails. You didn't build an actual system around your outreach. So one of our clients is a VA placement agency, and they went from doing internal lead generation where they generated a lead here and there with their outreach, but it was very inconsistent. And after they started working with us, they generated over 100 leads in the first 8 weeks of using our system and following the principles that I'm going to cover in this video. At a high level, this system is built around multi-channel outreach. And that means we use cold email, LinkedIn outreach, SMS where it's appropriate, phone calls, and we actively capture website traffic, so people that visit your website, and we do targeted campaigns for these people. So here's how this play essentially works. So first you define your ideal buyer profile, then you pull as many decision makers as you possibly can from multiple databases to basically map out your entire total addressable market. Then you run all of them through a cold email and LinkedIn sequence, and everyone who responds to your emails will get removed from the list. And the same goes for everyone that unsubscribes, but everyone else goes back into rotation. And what that means, given that we have 12 months in a year, is that you will do 6 full outreach cycles where you target everyone in your total addressable market. So in other words, every relevant buyer in your market has seen you 6 times over a year. And this will essentially ensure brand dominance. You will stay top of mind. And even though it seems radical, this works so well. But here's where it gets very interesting. So the companies that are afraid of sending too many emails or having too many touch points on different channels are the ones who never make money with outreach. Because if you're not staying top of mind in 2026, you're essentially forgotten. Based on all the data we have, doing consistent multi-channel follow-up over an entire year for a prospect is the most effective way to actually get them to buy from you. And by the way, if you need a team to build and run this entire system for you, check out the link in the description and the pinned comments. Anyways, back to the video. Once outreach is running, everything depends on your call to action. And there are 3 types of call to actions that I recommend for B2B companies doing outreach. The first one is book a call. Now, this is often best when your offer is very strong, the value is very obvious, the problem is urgent, and this essentially will create speed. You'll move the sale forward fast, but this will not work if you're in a saturated market or you need to convince your prospect more over time. The second type of call to action is a lead magnet call to action. So this is best when your offer needs some form of education, and you essentially want to take the prospect into an email newsletter where you can nurture them over time. So these are cases where the buyer is most likely not going to be ready right away, and this is a way to create long-term leverage since you're going to build up an email list over time. The key here, if you're going to do lead magnet outreach, is to make sure that your lead magnet is so good that you would actually pay for it, objectively speaking. Now, the third kind of call to action is an interest-based call to action. So this is the one where you simply ask, would you be open to exploring this? And then you have a conversation, a back and forth. Maybe you give them a phone call. And this works incredibly well for high-ticket, complex B2B offers or offers where you essentially have a lot of competition and you need to convince the prospect why you would be a better option compared to other options options on the market. Now, let's talk about what happens after somebody actually replies to an outreach. And this is where most systems collapse. If someone replies to you and you respond 2 hours later or the day after, you've already lost momentum. So the simple rule here is that every inbound response must be handled within 1 minute. And there is a Harvard Business Review study that showed that this can increase the booking rate by over 300%. Just by doing this thing alone, you can triple your leads from outreach. And these sorts of things are why people fail with outreach. They're not taking these things into consideration. So the system looks like this. You have a cold email tool that flags a response. Then the lead is enriched immediately so that we have their mobile number and their contact details. Then a Slack notification automatically fires. An inbox manager then sees that and responds immediately on the sending tool that you're using. And then you call them immediately as well. And then the appointment will get booked and there will be a way higher likelihood of you actually closing this deal. And it's ideal to have appointment setters in each time zone where you're doing your sales. But if you're focused on, let's say, only the US, then you'd want to have somebody that can operate within, say, EST hours and make sure that they can call people and be ready all the time. So honestly, if you're a founder and you're handling all replies, booking calls, chasing no-shows, you're sabotaging your own growth. You cannot focus on operations, improve the product or service, close deals, while also being on calls all day. This is where outsourcing makes sense for founders that are looking to leverage outreach, but don't necessarily have the time to fully understand it and actually create a system for it in-house. Now, for all the leads who don't respond and start ghosting, or they don't pick up the phone, or they don't book immediately, you run a 90-day follow-up plan on email, LinkedIn, SMS. You send them case studies, FAQs, industry insights. And yes, this is going to be an aggressive approach, but it just works in 2026. Because most buyers don't act when you want them to. They act when they're ready, and your job is simply to be there. So now you've seen the full picture, why outreach still works, why multi-channel is mandatory, why volume plus systems beat polite or very careful ad hoc outreach, why speed to lead changes everything, and why follow-up is where the money is. This is how B2B companies build predictable customer acquisition systems in 2026. And if you want us to build this system in your company, check the link in the description or the pinned comments. Thanks for watching.